All right, everybody. So, Holly, come on in and sit down. Get yourself settled. Thank you so much for being here today and for agreeing to participate in this interview with me.
Thanks for having me.
I would love to hear a little bit about you. Can you tell me, where did you grow up originally?
Well, originally, my dad's work moved us continents every 2 years. So we were in New Delhi, India, Bangkok, Thailand, the Philippines, and then settled in Australia when I was 10. And then lived there ever since. It was interesting. I loved it. I've got 2 siblings that I'm really close with, and so it was nice having them as a constant everywhere that we went, but it definitely, gave me some social awareness. We definitely got exposed to a lot of cultures for sure, but I think my family was really tight-knit, so it was easy adjusting going to each place. It was kind of random. I've only been in the industry for this is my 6th month, so I'm quite new, but I did a reality show, an Australian reality show like a year ago, and all the girls that were on that show were like sex worker adjacent. So topless waitresses, strippers, OnlyFans girls, whatever. And I was the only one that hadn't done any of that before. And so they kind of put me on. They're like, when we get back, like, you have to start an OnlyFans. And then it just kind of escalated. I befriended a lot of girls in the industry and just went from there. I feel like I skipped a lot of learning lessons that I probably would have had to learn the hard way. Luckily, I had a lot of girls that had already been through it, so they told me exactly what to do.
Can you share one of those lessons that you learned?
Be very choosy with who you give your body to and your time to. Definitely. God, I don't remember it being the most pleasant experience, to be honest. Like I said, I did grow up in a very tight-knit family, but they were also very traditional. When I was under the impression when I was younger that all of my dead relatives were watching everything that I did, so that was awkward. I was living at my parents' house from what I remember, and it was just late one night, and I had watched a movie starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson that evening, and he really sparked something in me. So I went to my bedroom and was touching myself, and then after I felt so incredibly guilty because I thought my grandma had watched it all. Yeah. No, I definitely experienced the gap. It was probably on my 5th or 6th try that I got anywhere. At the start, I was kind of like, this is pointless. Not doing anything, but I was persistent and I kept at it. I definitely didn't know that it was called an orgasm, that's for sure. I knew that there was like a point of climax or, there was a goal there. I just didn't know really how to get there. I hadn't had any sexual education whatsoever. I was kind of just what I had gotten from books and movies and my peers. But yeah, it was frustrating at the start because I couldn't understand what, my friends were talking about. And I was like, I don't understand why you're all doing this. Like, it doesn't do anything. But once you get there, you definitely understand. It was, from what I remember, really overwhelming, but like in the best way possible. I didn't know exactly what was happening, but I knew everything was a lot faster and my whole body was tingling. And then afterwards, when everything kind of settled down, I was like, oh, that's it. That's the end goal. I mean, I think the biggest myth was what I was told growing up, which was sex is for having babies. There was absolutely no coverage of it being for pleasure whatsoever, except for men. That's what I had heard of. And I'd say it's, if not equal, it should be more important for the woman to have, pleasure while having sex. So definitely that. I would say my sexuality has definitely evolved. I'm an open book at this point. I'm open to trying anything. I identify as bisexual now, so that opened a lot of doors. And that wasn't until my, later in my adult life that I realized that. But, I had a lot of learning to do and a lot of shame to get past to understand what I wanted and what I enjoyed, but I'm really happy. Well, like I said before, I am very choosy. So first of all, I'm always tested. I learned about boric acid suppositories when I got into the industry, and those are a lifesaver. Anybody who needs pH balancing. Well, I'm not a scientist, but from what I know, they come in little capsules. I get them at like any pharmacy, whatever. And every time I have sex at all, or especially sex with a new partner, obviously you're mixing pHs, and if they've had sex with someone else previously, it's all combining and it can throw you off. You just pop in this tiny little capsule, and I put it in before I go to bed, and I just put on like a little panty liner or whatever, because you will feel like a slug, but it just evens everything out, takes care of your coochie. It's kind of, whenever I'm in the mood, I just make sure I set some time aside for myself. If I'm on set, porn-wise, I definitely make myself orgasm before I go into a scene, just in case I don't during the scene. I want to make sure I get that done for myself. But at home, I usually do it right before I go to sleep. It's like a nice, clears the brain, relaxing. I've found my whole life I'm not a big penetration gal. It's really, I enjoy it. It's a great addition, but I'm definitely like an outside stimulating sort of person. So I love an outside toy. I love a vibrator, the body massager, the one that plugs into the fucking wall. That one's great. Yeah, anything that vibrates, I'm happy. I usually think of whoever I was seeing at the time. A big thing for me is like physical attraction, and so being able to like envision them in the room with me is definitely helpful. And then sometimes I'll watch porn, typically my own. I think watching my own porn is like the dream for most people. The whole point of porn, or at least for me, is to envision yourself in those scenarios, especially POV porn. So when I watch my own, I kind of just like relive the moment. I'm like, oh my God, Johnny Sins. Like, that was great. Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I think that is very individual to each person. It's definitely a time thing. It took me a really long time to be fully comfortable with myself, and I still sometimes am a bit insecure sexually, but I think nobody is concerned with what you're doing. That's the main thing I've had to realize, is everybody's, as much as you're worrying about how people are thinking about you, that's what they're thinking about as well. So just focus on yourself. Do what brings you joy, what brings you pleasure. Fuck them. Who cares?
Very nice. So thank you so much, Holly. I really appreciate you being here with us today. Now we're going to go do something that we have talked about, but we can't show. So we're going to go ahead and do that and say thank you. So why don't you come on?